Human trafficking is the second largest criminal activity in the world, right behind drug trafficking. It happens every day, often undetected, even at SFO, just as it happens at other airports and transportation hubs around the world. It's estimated that there are globally more than 21 million victims a year. It affects everyone, men, women, and children. That's the bad news. The good news is that SFO continues to be at the forefront of bringing awareness to this issue. Airline officials at SFO were the first in the nation to undergo specialized training to better identify signs of human trafficking. In 2015, we sponsored a human trafficking awareness walk through the SFO terminals. More than 250 walkers from across the airport participated, and SFO raised $150,000 to combat human trafficking. Bringing attention to this silent crime is one of the biggest things we can do. We can make a difference by knowing the signs of human trafficking and reporting suspicious activity. I'm proud to support the Airline Ambassadors Hero Force, and I'd like you to join us to save lives, to give hope to the victims, and to stop human trafficking. I urge everyone to take a few minutes to learn the signs of human trafficking and what to do when you suspect trafficking is happening. Together, we can end this horrible crime and make SFO a safer and more secure airport for everyone.
I'm Chris Hansen. You may know my work from NBC's Dateline series To Catch a Predator. Week after week, suspected child predators who thought they were meeting young victims were instead confronted by our cameras.
I have the transcript of your online chat.
Today, there's another battle happening at airports and other transportation hubs around the world. I'm proud to support the nonprofit Airline Ambassadors, a group of airline and airport employees dedicated to putting a stop to human trafficking. It's the second biggest crime in the world, right behind drug trafficking. You may be on a flight soon and sitting next to a human trafficking victim and not even know it. The question is, do you know how to recognize it? At a training session in Washington, D.C., flight attendants share stories of past flights where something just didn't seem right.
I had somebody on the airplane that I was sure, a young adult woman that I was sure was going to be trafficked.
Michelle Crick remembers a 22-year-old with a one-way ticket to Europe, traveling to see a man she had met online.
So she saw him on Skype?
Yes, and I said to her, do you understand they can be somebody else and not who they say they are? So she looked at me like I had 5 heads, and I just realized that these girls really, have no clue what they're walking into.
People don't think that trafficking happens on airplanes, but it does. It's a mode of transportation, and it's not just airplanes, it can be buses, it can be trains, but we are training our flight attendants and the general public, we hope, to keep an eye out for this. It's happening in plain sight.
And victims are often trafficked from poor to wealthier countries.
The nonprofit Airline Ambassadors is training flight attendants and other industry employees to spot the signs of human trafficking. Warning signs that include not having control of their own travel documents or appearing frightened, ashamed, or nervous. These passengers may be under the control of another passenger and might even be unsure of their destination. Once flight attendants recognize a possible victim, they're trained to quietly alert the pilot, who would then notify the ground crew at their destination city to have authorities waiting at the gate once the plane arrives.
You estimate that every flight attendant here sees 1,000 people a week, at least. That's kind of conservatively. That's 4,000 people a month. Do the math. It's well over 2 million people that will be scanned as a result of the people we've trained so far.
And for some of those flight attendants, the mission is deeply personal.
That kind of, reminded me of my mom, her story. So, it's just driving me more and more I want to learn everything I can about it.
Kim Hart's mother was just 14 years old living in Vietnam when a relative sold the girl into work slavery.
She was crying and she wouldn't elaborate on what else happened. It really tells you that it can happen to anybody. It can happen by anybody in your family. It's scary.
Perpetrators are trafficking as many as 800,000 victims across international borders every year, moving their victims frequently to keep them powerless.
But this problem was really not in the United States until 2000, it hit the United States like a ton of bricks because it's a business and they learned about it. And so drug traffickers said, well, it's a lot easier to sell a child.
For airline ambassadors, the goal is to have monthly training sessions at airports all around the world. But to get that job done, they need your help. To volunteer or provide financial support, go to the Airline Ambassadors website. And if you spot something suspicious while traveling, you can call the Department of Homeland Security's tip line. Airline Ambassadors is fighting hard to end human trafficking at airports around the world, and it's up to all of us to help.
Hi, I'm Alicia Kizakevich, and I'm founder and president of the Alicia Project. And I'm an Airline Ambassadors human trafficking awareness trainer. But I'm also a survivor. When I was 13 years old, I was groomed and lured from my home by an internet predator. He abducted me, took me to Virginia, and held me captive in his basement dungeon, where I was raped and beaten and tortured. And I was miraculously rescued by the FBI. I am so lucky to be here. He broadcasted himself abusing me to other people online, to an audience, and somebody saw this and they came forward. I was given a second chance at life. I was rescued. And with that miracle, I've been fighting, I've been working to make sure that other children do not suffer as I had, do not suffer as my family had. I met with Airline Ambassadors back in October of 2014, and I found a great partner, a group of people who are fighting and working to make a difference as I have for over a decade. By educating, by giving others the tools to recognize and report the signs of human trafficking. I was rescued because somebody recognized that little girl in that awful video as the girl on the missing poster. I was rescued because somebody did the right thing. Somebody went with their gut. They made the right decision. They took a chance. And because of that, I'm here today. I am able to share my story. Right now, as you're listening to this, so many children, young men, young women, children, babies, people, real people, are suffering. They're hurting. They're being tortured. They're being raped. They're being brutalized as I had been. This is saving their lives by being here, by giving airline personnel the tools, by giving everybody the tools, by giving them the chance to make that difference. Saving lives, giving them a second chance at life. And remember, to save one life really is to change the world. I am Airline Ambassadors Hero Force.
Human trafficking awareness. Be alert to individuals exhibiting a combination of the following: traveling with few or none of the usual personal items, are accompanied by someone who is far better dressed, are not allowed to speak for themselves if directly addressed, with someone else insisting on answering or translating for them, are showing signs of physical abuse, are malnourished and or eat in-flight food ravenously, are watchful to the point of paranoia and avoid eye contact, are unusually submissive to the person accompanying them, are seemingly unaware of where they are or where they are going. Report concerns to airport police or call the Homeland Security tip line at 1-866-347-2423. The National Human Trafficking Resource Center hotline can be reached at 1-888-373-7888.